Dear students, welcome back. Now we are going to see the another structure which is present in the thorax, that is trachea. The trachea is the windpipe which serves to conduct the air to both the lungs for respiration, and it is a wide tube lying more or less in the midline, in the lower part of the neck, and in the superior mediastinum. This is the lower part of the neck, and this up to here, this is the superior mediastinum. Okay, and it extends from the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. So here you can see the cricoid cartilage, which is present below the thyroid gland, that is the isthmus of the thyroid gland. This is the thyroid gland, so which is present in front of the neck. Here it is a butterfly shaped and it is having two lobes. At the lower 2/3 of this gland is connected by a tissue that is called as isthmus, that is the connecting part of the two lobes is called as isthmus. Below that isthmus you will see the cricoid cartilage there. Okay, the trachea starts at the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, which is at the level of 6th cervical vertebrae, as the continuation of the larynx, and ends at the level of the upper border of the 5th thoracic vertebra, and there it is dividing into two principal bronchi, that is the right and left bronchi. Okay, this is the extension of the trachea. Coming to its length, so in centimeters it is about 11 to 12 centimeters. In inches it is about 4 to 6 inches in length, and also its external diameter measures about 2 centimeters in males and 1.5 centimeters in females. Here the lumen is smaller in the living than in cadaver, and the lumen is about 3 millimeters at 1 year of age. During childhood it corresponds to the age in years, with a maximum of about 12 millimeters in adults. That means every year it is going to increase by 1 millimeter. Okay, now, and the upper end of the trachea, which lies at the lower border of the cricoid cartilage, which is present opposite to the 6th cervical vertebrae. Whereas in the cadaver, its lower end lies at the lower border of the 4th thoracic vertebrae. Okay, and however, in living subjects, in the erect posture, this bifurcation lies at the lower border of the 6th thoracic vertebrae, and it will descend still further during inspiration. Okay, this is about the length and its corresponding level to the spinal segments, that is called the thoracic vertebrae, not spinal segment, thoracic vertebrae. And over most of its length, the trachea lies in the medial plane only. It lies in the medial plane only, but near at the lower end of the trachea, it deviates slightly towards right. As it runs downwards, the trachea passes slightly backwards, following the curvature of the spine, because at this thorax it is having a kyphotic structure, so there may be an posterior convexity is present. Because of that curvature of the spine, as it runs downwards, the trachea passes slightly backward, which follows the curvature of the spine. So this is all about its extent, length, and the shape of this trachea is a tubular structure with flattened posterior wall. So anteriorly it is having some convexity because of the cartilages which are arranged in the trachea, that we will see in the structure. Because of that thing, at the anterior and laterally it is having some convexity, and whereas on the posterior it is flattened. Okay, this is the shape of the trachea. So like this. So anterior like this and posteriorly like this. This is the shape of the trachea. Now coming to the structure of the trachea has a fibroelastic wall supported by a cartilaginous skeleton formed by C-shaped rings. So like this, C-shaped rings. Okay. The rings are about 16 to 20 in number and make the tube convex anterolateral. So you can see that C-shaped rings, so on the anterior aspect of the trachea. So here you can see very clearly all these are in C-shaped rings. This is the cartilaginous skeleton. So here on the anteriorly you can see this C-shaped, isn't it? Yes. So these are about 16 to 20 in number and make the tube convex antero as well as the laterally. Posteriorly there is a gap which is closed by a fibroelastic membrane. So this C-shaped cartilage is only seen on the anterior as well as the lateral sides. Posteriorly this cartilage is not present. So there is a gap which is closed by fibroelastic membrane and contains transversely arranged smooth muscle. So that muscle is called as trachealis muscle. So and inside the lumen is lined by ciliated columnar epithelium and contains many mucus and serous glands. So this is about the structure of this trachea. And coming to the relations of this trachea, especially in the thoracic part. So this trachea is coming from the neck itself. So that neck relations we can see in head and neck, that cervical part relations. So simply some of the relations I can mention here related to the cervical part. In the cervical part, anteriorly it is related to the isthmus of the thyroid, lies on the second, third and fourth tracheal rings, and also anastomosis between the two superior thyroid arteries lies along the upper border of the isthmus. So at the upper border of the isthmus, the superior thyroid arteries are getting anastomosed here. That one is also related anteriorly in the cervical part of the thyroid, cervical part of the trachea. And below the isthmus, so below this isthmus, you can find some inferior thyroid veins. So here below the isthmus you can find inferior thyroid veins. And also the brachiocephalic artery. So here you can see the brachiocephalic trunk, and at this part you can see the brachiocephalic artery and the cervical thymus gland, and may sometimes lie in front of the lower part of the trachea. So and also it is related sternohyoid and sternothyroid muscles which overlap the trachea anteriorly to some extent. Okay, sternohyoid and the sternothyroid muscles. So all these structures we have already seen in the inlet of thorax, which are the structures which are coming from neck towards the inlet, or some of the structures which are coming from thorax out through the inlet towards the neck region. So almost all the same structures are relating here also. Okay, that is the cervical part of the thorax, and also pretracheal layer of deep cervical fascia, and also the superficial fascia and skin. These are the relations on the anterior aspect of the cervical part of the trachea. Okay, and coming to the posteriorly on the cervical part of the trachea, it is related to the esophagus, recurrent laryngeal nerves which ascend in the groove between the sides of trachea and esophagus. And if you see laterally, so laterally you can very much clearly see that the medial surfaces of the lateral lobes of the thyroid. So these two lobes, the medial surfaces of these two lateral lobes are related, and also inferior thyroid arteries, and also the common carotid arteries within the carotid sheath. So this carotid arteries will go like this. So that arteries are also related on the lateral aspect of the cervical part of the trachea. So these are the relations which are related to the trachea in the cervical region. But we are very much bothered about the thoracic part. Okay, so these are the structures which are related on the cervical part, but now we are going to see the thoracic part relations. So you people have to mention this thoracic part relations only. Okay, now anteriorly, so this is the anterior aspect of the trachea. So anteriorly, from most anterior part, that is the manubrium sterni, and then the sternothyroid muscles, and also the remains of thymus and left brachiocephalic and left common carotid arteries, deep cardiac plexus and some lymph nodes. So these are the structures related anterior part of the thorax, and this anterior part of the thorax and up to this part we can see in the superior mediastinum. This part is in superior mediastinum. The structures which are present anterior to this trachea in the superior mediastinum, you can write those relations also here. Okay, so what are the structures which are related anterior to the thoracic part of the trachea? Manubrium sterni, sternothyroid muscles, remains of the thymus, the left brachiocephalic and the inferior thyroid veins, here inferior thyroid veins, and aortic arch, this is the aortic arch, and brachiocephalic and left common carotid arteries, and deep cardiac plexus. So that deep cardiac plexus I have already mentioned previously. So behind the aorta you can see arch of aorta, you can see the deep cardiac plexus and some lymph nodes. So these are the structures related on the anterior aspect of the trachea. Now posteriorly, so posteriorly we can see on the lateral aspects. So posteriorly, here we can see both left side as well as on the right side. Behind this trachea you can see the esophagus here very clearly. Behind the esophagus, vertebral column is present. These are the two structures related posteriorly. Now if you can see on the right side, it is related to the right lung. So it is related to the right lung. Here you can see the root of the right lung and pleura, right lung with pleura. Here you can see this right vagus nerve. So on the right side you can see the right vagus nerve and also the aegis vein. On the right side you can see this aegis vein. A right lung and pleura, right vagus and aegis vein are related on the right side of the trachea in the thoracic part. Coming to the left side, on the left side it is related to the arch of aorta. You can see this arch of aorta. Left common carotid artery. So this one is the left common carotid artery. And the left subclavian artery. Left common carotid and left subclavian artery are related to the left side of the trachea and also left recurrent laryngeal nerve. So this is the left recurrent laryngeal nerve. On the right side it is related to right vagus. Okay, so on the left side it is related to the laryngeal nerve, left recurrent laryngeal nerve. So these are the structures related on the posterior side, right side and the left side. And previously we have seen the anterior relations. So these are all the relations of the trachea. And coming to its blood supply, so we have seen that it is starting below the thyroid gland. So the inferior thyroid arteries supplying the trachea, blood supply, and venous drainage is by the left brachiocephalic vein. So these are the structures very much related to this trachea. So venous drainage is by left brachiocephalic vein, and the lymphatic drainage is by the lymph nodes called as pretracheal lymph nodes. That means the lymph nodes which is present in front of the trachea, pretracheal, and paratracheal nodes. So the paratracheal nodes which are present on either side of the trachea. So I have already mentioned these tracheal nodes in the case of when we are dealing in lungs. Okay. So this is about the blood supply, venous drainage and lymphatic drainage. Now coming to the nerve supply. So the nerve supply by the parasympathetic, that is vagus. Parasympathetic supply is by vagus through the recurrent laryngeal nerve. The parasympathetic is by left recurrent laryngeal nerve. And also the sympathetic supply is from the fibers from the middle cervical ganglion, reach it along with the inferior thyroid arteries, and these are vasomotor. And this left recurrent laryngeal nerve is both sensory and secretomotor to the mucous membrane, and it is giving motor supply to the trachealis muscle which is present on the posterior wall of the trachea. So this is about the nerve supply of the trachea. Now coming to the applied anatomy. In the applied anatomy we can see the trachea. Here is an X-ray, In X-ray photographs, the trachea is seen as vertical translucent shadow. Here you can see the trachea here. So inside the trachea, you can see some shadows in front of the cervicothoracic spines. So you can here, these are the spines you can see behind. That means it is translucent shadow, vertical translucent shadow. This translucent means it allows some light, but it not give some detailed structure. So this translucency is due to the presence of air. So the trachea is consisting of air. It is a windpipe. If you can see in the lungs also, these lungs are also translucent because of the presence of air. If you can see the heart, this is not translucent, this is opaque here. Okay, so this, if you can see here, this is the vertical translucent shadow. This is the presence of trachea. Okay, and clinically this trachea is palpated in the suprasternal notch. Here you can have the suprasternal notch in between the two clavicles. So this is the suprasternal notch. Here you can palpate the trachea. Normally it is present in median position. Sometimes this trachea will shift towards right side or left side, indicates that mediastinal shift. So that thing also we can see here in another X-ray. So here you can see the tracheal shift here. This is left side X-ray, this is left one, and this one right one X-ray. So these are the two different cases where this tracheal shift is seen. The tracheal shift indicates the mediastinal shift. This is which is present in superior mediastinum. So the trachea, the dotted lines indicating the shift of the trachea. So this is the midline, but the trachea is shifted towards left side. In both the cases, the trachea is shifted towards the left side here. So in this condition, if you can see the right lung and left lung, so you can't see the part of the right lung. This is because it is a condition of pneumothorax, that is, which is very massive, and massive right-sided tension which displaces the trachea towards the left side, and you can't see the translucency of the lung, but here you can see the hyperlucency. Hyperlucency means reduced marking of the lung. You can't see the lung markings here. So this is a condition where there is a tracheal shift towards the left side. So this is another condition called a patient is having a lung cancer, which causes a shift of the trachea towards the left side. This is the right lung. Here you can see the translucency of this right lung. Here the lung is opaque here. That means it is not allowing any structures. That means it is not translucent, it is not transparent. Such condition is called as opacity. So this opacity is here mentioned in this is the quality of lacking transparency, because this opacification result in decrease in gas ratio to the soft tissue, causes such thing because of accumulation of this metastasis, so which increases which causes the shift of the trachea. So these are the two conditions. You can see the tracheal shift. So there are so many conditions which causes tracheal shift, which may cause on the left side as well as the right side according to the condition and according to the structures affected. So this is also called as the mediastinal shift. Okay. And during the swallowing, when the larynx is elevated, the trachea elongates by stretching because the tracheal bifurcation is not permitted to move by the aortic arch. Okay. Any downward pull will produce the physical sign known as tracheal tug. So this is another applied anatomy. And also the next one is the tracheostomy. In the tracheostomy, this tracheostomy is a procedure. It is an emergency operation commonly used to relieve complete obstruction of the respiratory tract at laryngeal levels. So here any obstruction is there, but air is not passing towards the lung. So it is an emergency operation which is done to relieve the complete obstruction of the respiratory tract at the laryngeal level. Here you can see, here a cut is made here. The trachea is cut. The trachea is cut open usually below the isthmus of the thyroid, and a tracheostomy tube is inserted so that the patient can breathe through it. So this is called as tracheostomy. Okay. Now another one. So the mucus secretions which are produced inside this trachea. So you can see this one is the longitudinal section of the trachea here. And we can discuss some of the points related to the histology part of this trachea here. So the histology, it is having an outer fibrous layer and cartilaginous ring. So here we can see the outer fibrous layer here. This is the outer fibrous layer, and this one is the cartilaginous ring. Here you can see this cartilaginous ring. These cartilage rings are 16 to 20 and are made up of with hyaline type, which are deficient posteriorly, where the smooth muscle called the trachealis fills the gap. And this trachealis has an outer longitudinal and inner circular layer. It is in between the adjoining tracheal rings. So in between adjoining tracheal rings, you will see some fibroelastic membrane. This fibroelastic membrane, the first tracheal ring is very broad and its end is often divided. The last tracheal ring, if you can go, this last tracheal ring is thick and broad in the middle. So in the middle it is thick and broad. From its lower border, a hook-like process. So from its lower border, a hook-like process which curves downwards and backwards between the bronchi. That means at the bifurcation, the last tracheal ring which acts as, which is called as carina. Okay. And coming to the inner layer, the inner layer is called as submucous coat. This is called submucous coat. It's made up of loose connective tissue here, with large blood vessels, nerves and mucus glands there. So this is the trachealis muscle on the posterior aspect. This is the smooth muscle, that is trachealis. Okay. And this is the submucosal coat, which is loose connective tissue with large blood vessels, nerves and mucous glands. And mucous membrane. So over this you'll have the mucous membrane. The mucous membrane is lined by pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cells in between. The epithelium rests on the basement membrane. So these are some of the histological features of the trachea. And the mucus secretions, the thing you have to understand here is the mucus secretions help in trapping of the inhaled foreign particles. What are some particles which are entered through this trachea? So because of this mucus secretions which are going to trap these foreign particles, and the soiled mucus is then expelled by coughing. The cilia of the mucous membrane beat upwards. So the cilia is present, which is present upwards, pushing the mucus towards the larynx. Okay. And coming to the next part of the applied anatomy. So the trachea may be compressed by pathological enlargements of thyroid. Here you can see the thyroid gland enlargement, as well as the thymus, any lymph nodes and the aortic arch. So here we can see the one of the pathological enlargement, that is the thyroid, especially the right lobe of the thyroid is enlarged here. This is an adenomatous enlargement of the thyroid gland on the right side. So these are the two CT scan pics here. One is the coronal section, this one is the coronal section, and this one is the sagittal section. So because of this enlargement of thyroid gland, it is shifting the larynx, this is the larynx, and the trachea towards the left side. So on the sagittal view you can see, so this gland is compressing the trachea as well as the esophagus here. Trachea and esophagus are compressed by this enlargement of this gland. So because of this it causes some symptoms like dyspnea, irritative cough, and often a husky voice. So dyspnea is difficulty in breathing. So this gland, when it is compressing the larynx, which is irritating, which causes cough. So because of this compression of this larynx, so that is the voice box, leads to a husky voice. So these are all about the applied anatomy of the trachea, and also the entire structure of this structure and detailed anatomy of the trachea. In the next session we are going to see the esophagus. Thank you.